another project that she had to get on with, so she was flying through it because she had to get on with the other thing. Nothing wants to play nice today.
Yes. I'll probably have to cut that. Sorry, we had some techie problems here this afternoon. It just wasn't connecting, so I was trying it on all sorts of different devices and trying to get it working. So Kay, hopefully you can connect now, because can't seem to connect to the live, still showing upcoming. So hopefully people can actually see us. It's saying we're live. So welcome Linda, welcome Kay. Who else is on there? Yay, thank you. Jane B, hiya. Is that Sun, Sea and Sand, Jane B? Don't know whether that's you or not, but hello and welcome. I hope some of you have been powering on with your cows. Looking at a lot of the images, a lot of people have done.
Yeah.
I think Kay, you were one of the ones that actually had finished it. Jane, you managed to change my name. Oh. Hi Sue. Hello Helen. Hello you three. Gita, hello from Denmark. Hello. And Mary, hello from Connecticut. Hello Mary. My goodness, it's lovely to see some of you joining us. We weren't sure because obviously in the UK we're back into sort of post New Year Christmas holiday mode, and we weren't sure the timing of this, whether it would work for people. So it's lovely to see a few of you have been able to join us.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Hello, ordered my kit at the end of the year and not as shit and got notice it is shipped. Yay! So hopefully that will be with you soon, Nancy. If you're overseas, then unfortunately it seems to be that customs sometimes hold things up when we send things out. It's we get them out usually within 24 hours of ordering something. So what we try to. So Michigan, USA. So hopefully it will be with you very shortly. So you guys have been.
I'm slow. I've only got a little diddy one.
I've got my. I'm gonna have a rustle now. So it's the full complement of all the different colours. I've just done my second bit of colour work. So and I'm just about to go on to the textured bit. So we were just chatting about which texture we were going to use, and I'm going to use the sort of middle one, which has got the little twist.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I might do trellis. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I always like trellis.
Actually, that works out incredibly well because I think I might do the diamonds. Genuinely. So that's quite handy.
Yeah, although the cable, I think you and I are going to do the same cable.
Do the difficult
I want to try the complicated cable. But I was looking at my cowl and thinking, because my lace is quite simple, dog hair on it, and my texture might be quite simple, would it look weird to have a much more complicated cable bit on it?
I don't think
because that's where the twist is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
well, the twist moves along once you've twisted it.
Of course,
it moves around.
Yeah, of course,
yeah.
It could be anywhere.
Yeah.
So how are people finding it? Oh, Judith, you're unwell, so you've been unable to knit for a few days. Hope you're feeling better. Hopefully you're back to it soon.
Get well soon.
Yeah, do get well soon. And a few of you, Nicky's been telling me, have bought the hat or got your hands on the hat, and somebody's even knitted the hat.
Yeah, someone finished the hat. Yeah, it finished and posted a hat. I was amazed by the speed.
Really fast.
Yeah.
Really, really fast.
Yeah. But as we said, this isn't a race. This is about doing something at your own pace, in your own time, and just enjoying the process and learning something along the way. So you've been monitoring Ravelry.
I have, yes, I have.
I've dipped in and out, but I haven't really contributed. It's been a bit busy at home, so.
Yeah, but
I'm on there all the time anyway, so.
Nicky's been looking at the Ravelry for us. Anything common coming up?
I think initially a few people had questions about the cast on and the casting on onto waste yarn, and I think as well I the pattern says cast on in waste yarn and knit 4 rows and then change yarn. And I think a few people sort of said knit 4 rows in what? So maybe I should have specified in the waste yarn. But we're over that hump now, I think. I think everybody is.
But anybody that hasn't started and who's watching this back or is joining us today, when Nicky says cast on in waste yarn and knit 4 rows, it means in the waste yarn, and basically that just makes it easier to then transition into the pattern and using the yarn that you've got for your KAL.
Absolutely. It's in some ways it's an unusual way of getting the live stitches, but I picked it because I thought it would be easier for everybody and not involve having to learn a new provisional cast on if anyone
crochet hook or whatever.
If anyone hadn't done that before. So hopefully and in theory it should be easier to just cast on in waste yarn. Knit 4-ish rows. I mean, if you want to knit more, do, and then just start with your main yarn.
So Linda here says, all okay on my 3rd colour work and looking forward to the cables because she loves cables. Not everybody loves cables.
I know, I love cables.
Yeah, I personally do, but it took me a while to love them. And certainly reading the pattern sometimes, but you've given great instructions on your pattern.
I hope so. I've done my best.
Yeah, no, you've given really clear instructions on what it means. And Kay, you're really enjoying it. So yeah, I totally agree. It's ideal for this time of year because there are in achievable chunks. Because like last night, I was watching something on the TV and I knitted the next colour work section. And I thought that was just a perfect sort of chunk of time to be able to spend on a
It is an inconvenient little like modules, isn't it? So yeah.
So Helen, you're a novice to circular needles and found the needles too long for your colour work. I was okay with the lace bit. Any advice? So it depends how long your circular needle is.
I'm using a 40 centimetre, which is
Diddy one.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's...
You are, but 40 centimetre would be the right size. So if you can't get hold of a 40 centimetre,
I believe 50 also works because when I was knitting the samples, I had one on a 40.
But you could also do it on magic loop.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Either
or DPNs. I mean, if that's what you're used to, you can certainly knit a tube. If that's what you're used to.
Yeah, we'll talk about Nicky's jumper and Fran's in a minute. I'm in sweater envy place here at the moment. So Helen, either adjust your needle, your cable size. So go for a 40 centimetre or a 50 centimetre if you can't get hold of a 40. But if not, look at magic loop if your cable's too long and you've got enough flex in it. Or double pointed needles, DPNs, is another way of doing it. And there's lots of really good YouTube videos on how to do magic loop if you are a complete novice on knitting in the round anyway. Very Pink Knits is probably one that I always recommend as a. So if you look on Very Pink Knits on YouTube, and I'll put it in the description afterwards, I think she's excellent at teaching all sorts of techniques. She's always my go-to.
Yeah, very thorough.
Yeah, she's very thorough, and she doesn't put in a lot of fluff around.
Yeah, she doesn't do that whole thing of picking up knitting, putting it down, flicking, kind of messing around.
This is my yarn. These are my needles.
Just
just straight into the. This is the technique, and this is how you get started. Sue, you've got a question that's related to that. So is that 40 centimetres with or without the needles on the cable?
That's 40 centimetres.
From tip to tip.
Yes.
So from the end of your needle. So
sorry, I was just going to say these are interchangeable, but they're short tips for a 40 centimetre cable, or to make the cable length 40 centimetres in total.
Mine are the same actually.
Yeah,
mine's a short, but basically you're measuring from that tip through to that tip, and that should be 40 or 50 centimetres, and you should be fine.
And I'm on probably a 30 in total, I would say. And
Fran has sort of done a smaller option. So
I've used Chagoo shorties, and I've got I think the longest cable that comes in that set, and a short needle and a long needle. So I've got the little 2-inch and the 3-inch.
So Helen, you thought the pattern said 60 centimeters, does it?
It doesn't. I don't know why. It doesn't. I have checked.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't.
So that's why. Usually when you knit a hat, I would normally knit a hat on
regular.
Yeah, on a 40 centimeter. So if you have got a 40 centimeter, you'll be able to knit the hat as well on those needles, on that set of needles. So but if you have got 60 centimeters, it would be quite difficult to do magic loop because you need an extra bit of cable.
You might just be able to do it with travelling loop. Just put it out one side.
Yeah, you can keep adjusting your stitches, but that's why you might be struggling a little bit. So I hope that helps. And Linda, my 40 centimeter fix are fine, but the interchangeable ones are difficult to manipulate, opted for magic loop. Depends how long your interchangeable tips are. I, as a preference with interchangeable tips, I like to go for 4 inches.
I think I do.
Just because I think they're more versatile.
Yeah, I would agree. I made a mistake and I bought the 5-inch tips when I did my big kit. And
that's great for longer cables, but when you've got shorter ones, you can't manipulate that rigid bit, which is the tip.
They are more versatile.
Yeah, and if anybody's looking at buying sets of interchangeables, I would always suggest looking at the 4-inch version.
I bought them one at a time, rather than
that's a good idea. Yeah.
Helen, hopefully you're getting better if you've got COVID.
Is a nice way of doing it, isn't it?
Poor Helen's got.
I put a big needle on there and a short one on there.
Yeah, poor Helen's got COVID, so she's blaming it on her COVID brain.
Oh no!
I haven't got that excuse. I just make mistakes just randomly. So I'm just going to go back because there were quite a few comments. So Judith, you love Nicky's jumper.
Oh, yes.
Let's have a little chat about Nicky's jumper before we go back to the pattern.
That is fun.
It's not my design. It's Witching Hour by Hannah Mann, which I think is Dear Ingenue shop on Ravelry. And it's a swan show. So it just comes to there.
Okay.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yes, but I do love it. As soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, that's definitely for me. And yes, I love it.
Nicky's very tall and slim, and I was just saying that I'm not sure if you, because Fran and I are probably a similar shape.
Jen's much slimmer than I
am. With a bigger bust, how that would fit, because you'd fill up this. I hope I'm not being too personal. No. You would fill up this bit a bit more, so it might restrict your arms a bit more.
It is slightly restrictive in the arms,
but it looks stunning.
And it is just a big circle with arms.
And I love it in the black and the monochrome colour.
Yeah, I think this isn't the sort of the sample colour, but this is what I went for.
And I didn't even notice it with skulls to start with. Not because I just loved the pattern, and I was like, and then when I looked at it, I thought, great, she's gone all sort of
goth on it. Yeah, that's my secret inner goth. Not very secret.
It looks amazing. So yeah, if anybody fancies it, double knit.
No. Oh, sorry, double knit yarn. Yes, it is. Yep. Yes. Yeah. It's just a big yoke with sleeves. The sleeves are
very unusual.
It's really unusual. I think that's what I liked, because I often wonder with those poncho type things whether it. Oh well, I know that's restrictive, but that even looks more restrictive to me.
But I like it.
But this is lovely, and the sleeves are ribbed, aren't they?
Yeah,
is that how the pattern?
Really I believe so. Yes, it was a while ago that I made it, but yes, I believe it is. I've made it pretty short so I can wear it with dresses.
Is it a flat hem, or does it go up at the sides?
I think I put short rows in the back to make the back a tiny bit lower.
It looks.
I don't think that's in the pattern. Right, I think that's just the thing.
That's your
there is a bit more black.
Yes, I'm quite long in the back.
Yeah.
You thought they were sheep until you started. I must admit, I didn't notice.
I thought for a moment, looking at this sideways, I wondered whether they were what are they called out of Star Wars?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yes.
So, sorry, I don't know your name. I've only got your sort of YouTube name. So Epiphany 8276 size. I was thinking of getting the Cori Korean poncho, but I think I'm a bit buxom for a poncho. Yeah, I do wonder shape-wise whether they suit people who are sort of leaner shape.
I've got it's not a full poncho. I've got, if you like an extended cowl, and that's quite useful.
You've got the Kate Davis one.
Yeah, the Kate Davis one, which is colour work, and it pulls down to your shoulder about there, and then you can scrunch it up if you want to as well.
That's more of a cowl.
Yeah, so it comes down to maybe the top or mid bicep if you're pulling it down.
The other thing I'm going to say this now. The other thing with this, where it comes, being older, and your boobs probably not in the place they're meant to be. I'd wondered, I would be worried that they would kind of hit the right place. No, that's just me.
I have to knit it just a little bit longer.
Or wear a better bra.
Maybe. And a real sheepdog.
And your jumper.
This one's stalactite. And I can't remember who the
I love the colour because you possibly can't see it.
It's a kind of quartzy pink. It's Gilead, which is Durarum. Gilead, which is a kind of DK weight. And if I just look it up, I'll be able to tell you who the designer is. But the design is stalactite, that I do remember, and I think it was originally.
You can see with that on this design here, it sort of mirrors the stalactite.
And is it a drop stitch, or sort of like knit below?
Yes. Yeah. And I think originally it was in a Liner magazine, and then now it's available as a standalone pattern because I think it came out about 3 or 4 years ago.
And I've got a good old ranunculus on, like it was just what I grabbed this morning. I was just thinking back over last year, and I will do something on YouTube about this, but looking back over my knits for last year and trying to think, actually, what was my favourite knit? What was my favourite one to knit? But what was what's been the one that I've grabbed the most to wear, which is quite different actually. I'll be interested in anybody on here who sort of had a standout knit in the last 12 months who could share it in terms of they really enjoyed knitting it or they find that they're wearing it an awful lot.
Okay, I found the pattern now. This is Stalactite by Camille Roselle and was originally in Liner magazine issue 4.
But it's on Ravelry as a standalone pattern.
So it's CAMILLE and then your word ROSSELLE designs. Camille Roselle designs.
And it's a worsted weight, I can see from here.
Worsted.
Worsted weight,
yeah.
So anybody that's interested in either of those patterns, that's what they are.
And there's some really nice ones. Examples. It looks really nice actually with a higher contrast.
So Jane has said my Illa is always useful, and you knitted that here for the shop, didn't you?
I was actually about to say, I think that was one of my favourite knits last year, even though I don't wear it, but I enjoyed knitting it a lot.
Yeah, I know it's been a hugely popular a version of that, isn't it? The Resolute by Telling Yarns. And Epiphany, you're Jane too, so thank you for sharing that. So in terms of going back to the pattern, I thought one of the things that might be useful, just because I did it this myself when I finished off this little bit of colour work this morning, was to mention in the pattern it talks about changing. Obviously, you change either end of the colour work to reflect the next stage of the pattern. And I just thought it was just worth reminding people of that. So my next section is the textured section, and on the pattern, whenever you get to this bit and this bit, you need to knit in the colour that you're either coming from or moving into, and it just tells you which one that is.
I think it's really good that you've highlighted that. I think if anyone is not sure what they're doing or is feeling a bit confused, on page 8 of the pattern, there is a photograph of this one laid out flat before it's been joined. And I think if you look at that, it can help you visualize the way that one solid color goes into the color work.
I think I'm working off your draft pattern that you sent
me. Yes, you don't remember.
So I probably don't have the full completed pattern.
You probably still are. Yes. There's now a photograph.
In my sort of pop color should be the same. And then the final bit of the cable is in that lighter colour here. On me, it's like a light blue. I don't know if you can see that, which is in between like the light aqua colour. And I you know, changing needles as you do, it looks like my tension's going to be good with the two different changes, because lace work is obviously stretchier because it's got holes in it, whereas the others is going to come in. So I'm really pleased with it, and it's super soft,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Mrs.
New Plump is like squish, isn't it?
It's so
and I know quite a few of you have ordered these, and a few people have ordered them since last week as well. So thank you.
If you're anything like sensitive, it's a brilliant yarn because
some
it's
alpaca
so soft.
Yeah,
even my daughter can wear that. She's really
sensitive.
Yeah, she's very picky about it.
So has anybody got any questions? I'm full of questions today. How do you access the Ravelry forum, clips, etc.? I found the Stitches and Cream forum. Is there anything else to find? And somebody else I know independently messaged me to say, and we'll come back to your question, Mary, in a moment, to say, how do you add they were finding it difficult to see how to post on Ravelry and add a picture. And I know this came up last time.
In tips and tricks thread on the forum, there are at the beginning of the tips and tricks, I've put a couple of ones on how to set up your project, and also how to add pictures to your project and how to add pictures to your forum post. If I haven't, I'll do that this evening, so it's up there. But if the easiest thing to do is to make sure to set up your project, add the pictures to your project, and then you can swoop them into your forum thread. Otherwise, if you want to just take a photo, you have to pay, I think it's like $5, isn't it? A year if you don't want to pull it through from the project page.
Basically, if you're like me that has never used Ravelry for its full potential other than a pattern library, and perhaps it was to store my favourites, it's about creating project pages, your own project pages, and uploading those any sort of pictures you're taking, and then you can transport it into the forum.
Let me just see what I put in.
But I didn't know that myself until we did one last time.
In tips and tricks, there is a video on how to add a project to your project page, how to magic link a person, pattern, or project in a forum post, how to add a picture to a forum post. So they're all videos, and there's also written instructions, if you prefer that, on how to add photos to your project page. I'll try and find a written one on how to add pictures to a forum post.
That's really helpful. Thanks, Fran. So hopefully, and do pop questions in if either.
Absolutely do. If anyone has any sort of questions about the pattern itself, or colour combinations, or yarn choices, or anything at all, I am on Ravelry multiple times a day, every day.
She's stalking you on Ravelry.
Yes.
Mary, she's asked, do you have a suggestion for a worsted weight pattern, but with fingering weight yarn? Worsted weight, but with fingering, with doubling up work, or do you need to triple if you've got fingering weight? Oh, so I get where you're coming from. So the pattern itself slightly depends on the fingering.
Yeah.
Whether it's sort of a light fingering or
and the twist makes a difference. If it's like a tightly twisted, like a sock yarn twist, it won't be very plump, but others are quite nice and loose.
Just going to get a couple of things to show
then you could probably just double up, I think, couldn't you?
Yes.
Or possibly
sneak behind you
could
so,
double and then add a strand of something like a silk mohair or something. That
lace weight.
Silk mohair is good, and it really morphs things. You can actually use that to bulk up yarns quite a lot, because it allows you to knit relatively loosely, but it'll fill the holes effectively.
Yeah. I think if you so for example, this one here is a fingering weight, but it's a merino fingering weight, so it's quite fine. So if you doubled that up, I think that would, you'd have to do your gauge.
That'd be more like a DK, wouldn't it?
That would be more like a double knit, I think. And you could, I think you'd still need to add a mohair potentially to that to get it to worsted weight. Isn't it?
So it's more like a sport possibly when it's doubled up.
Amble, for example, this one here,
so plump,
that is just the other night.
I can't see the end of it.
I checked that really is a sock weight because I was thinking.
So this one here, I can't find the end to pull it out because obviously it's skeined up. But this one, if you doubled this over, if we pull out 2 of those strands, I think because it's a plumper fingering, I think you would get close to a worsted weight.
Yeah, I think so.
So, sorry, Mary, that was a bit of a protracted answer to your question, but I think you're going to have a little play. But you can certainly
it comes down to a swatch, I'm afraid.
You could certainly use your fingering weight yarn. And in terms of favourite worsted weight patterns?
Worsted weights. And a lot of it is more of an American pattern weight. It's not a very common yarn weight in this country. So I would say look at mainly American designers.
Andrea Mowry's got a lot of really nice worsted weight patterns.
Just trying to think.
I'm sure some of Catlin Hunter's must be.
Yeah. They tend to do sport and worsted weight.
And you could also look by looking at a yarn such as this Gilliatt yarn, which is a worsted weight. And then if you in Ravelry, you could go into the yarn and then you can look because it's quite popular. Though you can look and it'll one of the tabs on the yarn page is recommended patterns or patterns using this yarn. Once a yarn's got more than I think about 5 people doing the same pattern, it comes up as you can use this yarn has been used for this pattern.
This is what I thought you were going to say. If you look up the yarn on Ravelry, then you can look at the other projects that have been done in it. And you can set that to most favourites or something. For the ones that have worked well. Yes.
So we've got a couple of questions here. So Mary's come back. So she said, yes, before I start a swatch, the one I have is not a tight twist, but you just love the colour. I would just see how you can make that work to gauge, Mary, then. If you really love the colour, try doubling it over, seeing if it works. If it's too fine still, I would just add a mohair that complements it in some way. So Judith, you've always been confused by worsted weight. Is it between an Aran and a chunky? In the UK, I would say it's between a double knit and an Aran. So it's that sort of it. And quite often I recommend when customers come in, I think you could use worsted for a double knit pattern or an Aran pattern. Just the fabric would be the slightly tighter or slightly thicker. So, but it is an American weighted yarn. We don't tend to have, we are beginning to see more of it in the UK, but it tends to be more American designers that knit to both sport weight and worsted weight, because you don't tend to have double knit in the US.
I'm trying to think. If you like seamed patterns, it's worth looking at Brooklyn Tweed's patterns, because quite a lot of their yarns are worsted weight.
And Quince -- Co. They're a good. They do a lot of them. So I'm just trying to read this. I'm like staring at the screen. So you were just being lazy, Mary. You said in terms of you were being lazy before you swatch. No, me too. I'm the same. If I can work out a way of doing it without faffing around swatching loads of times. And Jane, I'm using Knit Companion 2 as recommended by Fran in the last Knit Along. Also, finally use chart only 2. Always use written pattern previously. So I hope you're enjoying using Knit Companion.
I think it's a game changer.
It's a game, and particularly if you're doing charts, I think it's brilliant. I love Knit Companion, Mary, so it's such a great tool, and just saying thank you for recommendations. So hopefully that's given you some answers to your questions. I hope you're enjoying the KAL wherever you are. Those of you that have asked me questions about kits for the hat, and maybe the mittens as a joint thing, because you don't need much for either. Watch this space. I'm waiting for Nicky to finish those mittens.
I'm beetling on as fast as I can. But also I'm a perfectionist. So
she is a perfectionist. Yes, we've just had a whole discussion about the mittens and sizing and everything. But as soon as we know what meterage you need for those, we will put variations of the kits for hats, mittens together. so that anybody that does want to buy them, they can from us if they want to. But the mittens are coming. It will just be when Nicky's happy that they're perfect.
And the hat is still half price at the moment on Ravelry.
And what's the code?
The code is Falmouth50.
Falmouth50.
Falmouth50. I have one
All
together.
really handy board.
Oh no,
Yes.
she's so organised.
Falmouth50. Yes. So, but it is on the Ravelry page as well. So, but yes, Falmouth50 to get 50% off.
Only for you guys, in terms of making sure that you guys know that there is a discount code on it to say thank you for taking part in our KAL, and I'm really pleased that so many of you are enjoying it, and so many people caught up afterwards. So if you aren't watching this live and you're catching up afterwards, thank you, and I hope this helps. We will be back next week, same time next week, and probably a couple more weeks because some of you have already finished. But as I said, it's not a race, you do it at your own time. But in terms of hopefully, even if you're taking a bit longer, you can go back and reference these videos for anything that you've got questions about, and the Ravelry group will keep going for a little while
any
longer.
questions on Ravelry, just don't be shy.
Love, Mary's going to make that hat for us. It's definitely a unisex hat.
Oh one. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, lovely to see you all virtually, and we'll speak again next week. Bye.
Bye.